Minute and a half reserve time left for Polaris, and I've got to say I'm still kind of shocked that the Talon didn't go down the Grimstroke route themselves, but I'm sure they have their own plan in mind here. Polaris will continue thinking about what they want to pick up. I mean, sure, you run the Mag PA last game, and that works out very well for Polaris, but we all know that's the comfort. Right? We know that's exactly what they know how to run. This time around, they're going down the Medusa route. So, third pick Medusa, not even thinking about it. We see Motivate Trust mainly run this hero. I feel like no other team really picks up Medusa these days. Polaris does take it for themselves into an Undying, interestingly enough. The drafts looks very different to what I'm used to seeing from Polaris Esports. John, how do you feel about these two pickups?
It's a bit of a shakeup. I'm a bit confused with the Undying, actually, because we normally see that for Mavis, right? It's usually a CML 5 Undying. Right. But with a Bane on hand, that's likely your 5 already. So is it going to be Undying 4? Which, it can work. It just doesn't sound amazing. There's a weird way to flex it. You could go Force Undying with Xavius on the Pangolier. So you could run Pango 4, Undying 3, and kind of build up to be that hefty monster. But I think Talon are picking up the right heroes. Drow Ranger comes out for Gabby. There's no amazing gap close from Polaris outside of the Pango with Blink and the Rolling Thunder. So the Drow feels fairly protected here. It really depends on what Polaris will take on their mid. A lot of pressure on Lelouch to kind of match the pace of the Pango and jumping the backline. But this is a great core-to-core matchup. The Drow comes online a little bit faster, can melt through the Dusa. If it's not protected, Polaris does have sustain, but when it comes down to it, you don't have the best synergy on the side of Polaris, right? Like, normally with a Dusa, you tend to see it with, say, a Mars on the offlane, so you've got Arena and the Stone Gaze, or a Phoenix support, so you've got the Egg and the Stone Gaze to kind of make them choose. This time around, there's nothing really to make them think twice, to force them to look at the Dusa. You can just turn around when the Stone Gaze is up, get out, re-engage once it's down, and melt her mana anyway. So I think Talon still kind of has ways to deal with the Dusa, and it's really just down to see how well Natsumi can get that early build-up, what kind of build-up he does want as well. We see some early aggressive Dusa drafts where you kind of just get say Manta and Crystallis and you kind of go, or even just like a long way back, it's Mask of Madness Crystallis. I don't think you're going to want to go that fast in Dusa, but you kind of want to keep up pace here with Talon, because they will try to deny your map very early on.
It's quite interesting as well, like going back to the Drow, in this case, John, I've been hearing a lot of chatter about Drow being kind of broken right now, but we haven't seen it being picked up much at all. So I'm looking very forward to seeing what Gabby can get done with this Drow. Obviously, like you pointed out, it does feel like once the Medusa uses Stone Gaze, you're not really too afraid of anything. You can just get to right-clicking this Medusa, and chances are you are going to be able to out-damage her no matter what stage of the game it is when you put the Drow versus Medusa comparison. Still, Polaris Esports, final pickup for themselves. It does feel like they need a bit more catch here for the Drow. They actually ended up banning out the Bat Storm themselves this time around, so you won't have those options available to try and pick off this Drow. You do have the Spirits, or at least Void Spirit and Earth Spirit, but nobody picks Earth Spirit, so Void Spirit is still there if you want to go down that route.
Yeah, they could go into it. I think it can still work out, especially once you hit Ag's timing. That could help you against a Drow. Just get her silence up, get control. Instead, they go with the DPs, so they're going with making up a lot of plays with the rest of their 4 heroes here in Polaris while buying space for the Dusa to build up. They can run and gun as 4 heroes here and just play to that early tempo. I worry about their control here, Mike, because they've got Grip and Rolling Thunder. That's it. Talon, they've got Fire Blast, they've got Cookie, they've got Ravage, Scatter Blast as well when you get the Ag Shard. And they have so many more ways of keeping the heroes of Polaris down that I don't know if Polaris can be able to get the control they need to stop the team fights breaking off here from Talon. And there's still this flexibility on the Undying. Like, what are you going to do with it? Is it a Force Undying against a Drow? That doesn't sound great. Now, Pangolier offlane works as well, but Undying Bane as a support duo just doesn't sound amazing as well.
And now you have a Makoto Quap as well in the mid lane, so that Death Prophet not going to have the dominant lane it was probably hoping for. You can always just kind of blink away from that DP every time you get siphoned up. Overall, I think Polaris has gone for a very unique draft this time around. I can't say I like it in particular, but I look forward to seeing what they can get done with it. I do kind of agree with you, though. Like, it feels like Talon is just much more well-rounded in this game. Though each game we've watched so far between these two has been very one-sided, no matter what happens. So right now I'm kind of leaning towards what Talon's got. I do agree. I think that the team fight's just way better, just way more locked out, way more damage. Polaris, it's like a one-trick pony, right? Like you're kind of just relying on this Medusa to get big enough that it's not even a contest anymore. But it's kind of easier said than done.
Yeah, I don't know. My big issue with Polaris' draft mic is really the support duo. Like, the Bane makes sense, but the Undying as a 4, you're just not getting much out of it. Like, it's just such a good 5, and on occasion 1 or 3, like, you know, safely an Undying was a great thing to see, but it doesn't come out too often. The dual lane of Xavius and Force, I mean, Pangolier and Undying can be aggressive. You can go for good decays out, drop the Drow low, play with a shield crash and Swash to try to force her out, but when the team fights break out, like, even if you get a good position Tombstone, there are 2 big range cores on Talon that can take care of it, right? They can just melt the Tombstone down anyway with the Drow and Quap. The Quap can jump up onto a cliff if they don't have vision as well. That might detract from focusing on the cores, but that will take out the one teamfight aspect Polaris has outside of Rolling Thunder. So, I don't know, it seems like a tough game for Polaris to pull the draft off. They've got early timings, but it doesn't look like the easiest game to hit this time.
I certainly agree with you on that, John. We'll head into it. Game number 3 decides who does pick up this series, and I mean, you know, you've still got multiple weeks of DPC to go anyway, but you'd love to get off to a good start. And we kind of comment on this sometimes, John, but there aren't that many games throughout the DPC 2-1, so every series does count if you are looking to, in this case, move up to the upper division.
Yeah, you've got to get the points racking up. We've seen teams get their dreams crushed from one lousy series against a team they're expected to win against, right? Like,
yeah.
I believe the big one was TNC going into the Animajors. They dropped the series to Lilgun, who, you know, weren't having an amazing season last time around, and every single series counts. Like, from that result, you should know every single series matters. So we'll have to see who does pull out all the stops here. As again, the drafts look very different. Polaris have this really sensitive timing. They've got good push with the Lush early on. They've got early presence with the Undying and the Pangolier. They've got Medusa that scales late, so they've got security on Polaris' side. I just don't know if the early game is strong enough. It's so hard to see, because you've got Grip, Nightmare, Rolling Thunder. That's your control. That's it. Compared to Talon, that's nothing.
Certainly isn't. What the game plan is, I mean, Polaris, they're on a bit of momentum. I mean, they just won that game 2, so they might be just feeling themselves right now going into this game 3, but I'm sure Talon not really panicking. You've got a lot of old school players here that they're used to these kind of experiences. They know what's to happen in this game 3. Still, Bounty Runes should be a 2 for 2 and will be. Talon not going to dive too far against an Undying at level 1, just way too scary. And we'll start off with this offlane of Polaris, where you do have Xavius and Force against Gabby on the Drow and Fly. Now, you already don't like that +4 Undying. It does feel like going into the Drow, it doesn't feel any better either. Like, what do you do as an Undying in this lane?
You can zone out Fly, as what Xavius is doing right now. You're going to slowly win a right-click trade, but the Ignite will burn you down. Still, you can spam out Decay, but this is exactly what Fly wants anyway. He wants you to focus on himself, keep the Drow safe on the backline. For an Undying to walk up and try to decay a Drow is a pretty tough call as well. And Force, sure, he can play with Shield Crash, but the Drow has a lot of good slows and damage as well early on that you can use to fight back. So, I don't know. Xavius is trying to go for the pull plays. We tend to see him do, you know, trying to get the EXP going his way. He does manage to get the block, but Gabby does the right thing, getting the pull off back. So he equalizes the lane there. He's going to lose some creeps up top to the tower. He should be able to make it back in time to get the CS going.
Yeah. So over in the mid lane, you've got Makoto there against Lelouch. Should be a pretty even kind of matchup between these two, though I do suppose you do have some kill potential on either side. But again, Makoto, he should always just be able to blink away in case he gets siphoned. But you do have the chance that you get silenced up, and you might not have the opportunity, but I dare say, at the very least, Lelouch and Makoto should both be fine.
Yeah, it's a very even lane. Mikado already has the value point in Blink, so Spirit Siphon's not going to be a massive issue. At the same time, he's lacking some wave clear. With that Scream of Pain, it can kind of slow him down, but he can try to trade hits with the Shadow Strike and slowly regen that way. But Lelouch does have the early damage advantage because of that lack with the Scream of Pain. So that's something Mikado's going to have to watch out for. Very important to balance out the power runes once more. Mikado's going to have the mobility advantage with a blink, so it should be easier for him to keep his bottle topped up unless Polaris commits the supports to try to deny that away.
Okay. Of course, last lane, down to the bot lane, you've got Hyde and KP against Mavis and Natsumi. It does seem like another kind of passive lane here from both ends, as you don't really expect too many kills to occur down bot here. I mean, maybe if you get a gush into a cookie, and in fact, as I say that, they are going to make the jump in. Natsumi, though, he pops the mana shield, and he's going to be just fine. The kill potential is there. It's just very hard to expect something to happen.
Yeah, no. Medusa is still relatively tanky. Of course, you can't expect too much aggression as well from Natsumi. They're trying on Hyde, and they managed to get him.
Yeah, never mind what I said, John. Hyde's going to end up going down. Apparently, this is an aggressive lane. And there you go, Hyde. He's going to be the unfortunate victim to Natsumi. And I suppose you couldn't have asked for a better start if you're Natsumi, claiming that first blood gold, as well as the fact that he is basically free farming in this safe lane.
Yeah. They've managed to secure a really good lane for Dedusa. That's where the Dedusa aspect shines. The matchup against Tide is pretty darn good. You've got the range advantage, you can hold back, play with a Mystic Snake to clear the creep wave. And for Talon, they have to get up close and personal to really get their stuns, their minus armor going. That will kind of expose KP just a bit, so you have to watch yourself. And as long as Dedusa kind of farms up early here, you can, again, expect her to maybe play in the jungle, play in the stacks, in the triangle, build up a little bit faster than the Drow, although I don't think the Drow gets too far behind, although Natsumi again.
Yeah, they're going to try a second time. They do get through a lot of his mana, but we'll have to let him go. And I think it's just setting up for the next attempt here against Natsumi. Just get rid of that mana pool and give yourself a proper chance next time around that the cookie and gush is off cooldown. In the meantime, though, top lane, Fly in a bit of danger now as the Tombstone has been dropped. Gabby, he'll take the Tombstone down, but they've already got Fly, and they'll chase down Gabby now on this Drow. He will try to turn back around onto Xavius. With these frost arrows doing a fair bit of damage, but they will try to turn and barely avoid getting a kill onto Gabby as the Fairy Fire was there in time.
Yeah, on the edge for Gabby. The aggression from Polaris is lining up, but I think you're not too bad here for Talon. They are kind of missing out in the CS with their cores, though. Gabby, the distance between him and Natsumi is starting to grow a bit bigger. That is a cause of concern. The Drow can flash farm in the jungle, though. In the same pace, or if not slightly faster than Dedusa early on, using that multi-shot. So you can recover well, but you are seeing in that pressure coming out. When the Undying gets to expend his full mana pool, you can make them really squishy, and that Drow doesn't have too much strength, so it gets extra vulnerable to the harassment of that Pangolier.
That it does. Bot lane, though. Mavis now going to be in danger himself. We'll get the Nightmare off onto KP, and that'll be enough for him to be able to back. Hyde was unable to get the job done. In the meantime, you look back at Natsumi's farm. He's still having a fantastic time on this Medusa. No contest. We've seen them try to chip away at Natsumi, but in the end, he's just still CSing like a pro, and they just can't stop him. They can't slow him down.
Yeah, he's just getting to build up. I think the thing for Talon now is they get really strong when they hit their level 6 spikes. That's when the team fight factor does come in. You know, they can play with Kisses, play with Ravage. That will take a little bit more time to build up. So Polaris are getting max value from their lanes, but I think as long as Talon still manages to soak that EXP, especially on their supports, they're still going to have a timing to meet. You just have to be a bit worried about how much Dedusa is getting.
Top lane. Fly again in danger. He will go for the Tombstone and does manage to pick it up, but it's probably not going to save his own life. In fact, maybe it does. He's got the stick charges available. Gabby is still there, right-clicking away onto Xavius. They are still just trying to chase Fly down, though, and eventually do get the kill, but Force has gone way too far for that. So you give a kill back the way of Gabby. I can't really say that's worth, John. I mean, oh, never mind. Maybe it is a Xavius. Cleans up Gabby with the Soul Rip, and well, had he not done that, I would have said it was a pretty bad trade for Polaris, but they do end up getting the Drow kill in the end.
Yeah, it works out in the end. I think it's still ideal if the Pangolier is around to soak that EXP, so Gab gets a little bit more value coming out. But you're still happy here at Polaris. You are finding the trades you want. You're building up. The side of Talon, a lot of emphasis coming out on mid. Mikado has 6, does not have the Sonic Wave leveled up yet. They are trying to pressure with a Siege Creep, and they're trying to counteract the push potential of Lelouch by going first here.
They're going to try. Nightmare is going to be out onto the Ogre. Fly, just happy to frontline for his team if he needs be, but now the Spirit Siphons do come out. Fly will need a way out, and the Cookie should be enough. He's alright. They do get a little bit of chip damage here with the Siege Creep, but ultimately Lelouch will be able to take it out pretty darn quick. We'll have to leave it be. There's now Makoto. He'll head up top instead. You've got Force, who's already gotten that tier 1 tower, but he might stick around to try and clear out this creep wave. Thing is, Force is not level 6 yet, so this may cost him his own life. So they ping up pretty much exactly where he is. And Fly Makoto will just happily walk in as he jumps back in onto Gabby, trying to take down the Drow Ranger. But again, without the Rolling Thunder, chances are you probably aren't going to get the kill. And Force is going to end up going down.
It's a nice, simple kill. Xavius is going to look to pressure Gabby again.
He's trying again, John. Unable to get in range for the Decay or the Soul Rip. He'll have to let Gabby go. And well, the Tombstone wasn't quite in range either to at least spawn a zombie. Oh, he's still trying.
Chased.
Well, Gabby, he shows himself. Xavius, he is a very persistent Undying. This time around, there's just not enough creeps to actually get some real damage going with the Soul Rip.
Yeah, he misses out. They're still keeping track. They rotate up the Pango as well. Forces back. They want Gabby dead.
Salve is there, but that's going to be cancelled off as Gabby's dropping very low now. 175 HP with the swashbuckle out. It's not quite enough. But you love the play here from Polaris. They're just continuously forcing Gabby away from these farming positions. And that's just not what you want as a Drow, but they are certainly slowing down, and Farmer's now Force does get jumped. Makoto's there to try and secure a kill into this Pango, and does have the Sonic Wave out. Duke is not going to be really there, but he has broken the distance. Fire Blast though, Fly continuing the chase with the deny out from Xavius. Just deny the gold away from the side of Talon, and we'll try for the TP play out, and it's going to make it. Alright, Xavier's just making so much work happen.
Yeah, just setting up for the side of Polaris, and we talked about a bit of a lack of control for Polaris. It doesn't matter when you're going for these skirmish plays. So they're just running in, pressuring, split up, and buying space for Natsumi. Because of all this movement out, they can't pressure Natdusa down bot, who's still sitting in lane, who's still #1 in net worth, who has the Dragon Lance up, along with a Possessed Mask. So everything you could possibly ask for the Dusa is online. I think for Talon, they're starting to line up for those level 6 spikes. Maybe the support's not quite there yet, but they've got the Ravage. They did commit it earlier on from KP, just not amounting to much. And I think that is a cause of concern. They need to stall out, try to give Gabby some breathing room in the jungle, allow the Drow to farm up, hit its own Dragonlance timing, maybe just work onto the Yasha and Manta next or whatever else you might need, and go from there. That would help if they could find a mid. I think the big issue for Polaris now is their objectives have not really moved. Despite having the DP, they haven't been able to commit with the EXO. So, shutting down maps, a bit of a slower progress here.
Bit of a fight there for the Arcane Rune, but it does eventually just get it denied off by Lelouch. Talon unable to secure it there for Makoto, who would have loved to have that Arcane. Just have to ask the question as well, when Talon decides to get aggressive on their own side of things. With the rotations we've been seeing thus far have been up towards that top lane. In fact, never mind getting aggressive, they're going to need to get defensive now for this mid-tier 1 tower. So the Exorcism is going to be pumped by Lelouch. They'll need to rotate and try and defend this. You can't really afford to lose this tier 1 tower with the Drow Ranger. The game is going to lose a lot of space to farm if this goes down for free. Talon, they are around, but they don't have spells like the Mortimer's Kisses up yet, and it looks like they've given it up. They just don't believe they can defend this yet.
Yeah, it comes down to that earlier Ravage use from KP. If he had Ravage up, they could have looked to just run up, Cookie initiation in, get the Ravage off, maybe try to follow up with the Queen of Pain instead, but they are forced to just trade. Bot tier 1's taken out, but they lose their mid. It's a much bigger take for Polaris as they already invade the jungle. They drop some good obs wards, watching that jungle as well to watch Gabby's farm patterns. The side of Talon's not completely shut out though. Outside of Natsumi getting a lot of farm, everyone else on Talon is in a pretty good position. It's just Natsumi that's the odd end here for Polaris. So they are getting good progression on Mikato and on KP to hit their spikes. And they will shortly have the Kisses up, so they could look to play with that next Ravage here.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get something done here for Talon.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Mid lane. They're gonna find Hyde here on the Snapfire. Trying to cookie away, but Force will be very persistent. Should be able to secure the kill on the Snap, no issue. So now they head down south, looking for a bit more. You've got Flying KP around, but they are kind of alone right now. They're going to be surrounded. Makoto does join in, but they got the Tombstone dropped already. As now the Rolling Thunder is going to be pretty darn nice. Makoto, he does get caught with his pants down. KP, he does pop the Ravage in the end, but what does it matter? You've already lost Makoto. There goes Flying, and now KP, he'll be the final piece of the puzzle. So they'll just chase the Tide down slowly but surely. And eventually should be able to pick this kill up. Because Hyde is unable to help. Just unable to get in range for the cookie to at least give him a bit of distance. And Polaris, they're looking again for a second game in a row.
Yeah, they're just playing so aggressive. They're playing around this early spikes that we know this team loves to play around. Talon, they're having an issue getting that teamfight initiation in. Like, they need to land Ravage Kisses, the Ravage Sonic Wave on top, but they're just constantly getting caught off guard. And it's still close net worth-wise, but Natsumi's really just starting to run away. Not contested in the triangle, no forward vision here from Talon. The Medusa hasn't been really joining too many of these engagements, but allowing Medusa to free farm like this is a big cause of concern. Like, Talon, they have ways of jumping into the Medusa, maybe burning through some of her mana with some burst damage as well. But the core-to-core matchup's not looking good. Like, the Drow should be online a bit faster. It's the nature of Drow. It has a really good spike, but it's level 6. It has a lot of damage, can clear out camps with a multi-shot, but Gabby's been under so much pressure that his progression's just really been hampered thanks to all the aggression of Polaris.
And it has. Gabby right now, only 5.5k net worth. Not looking too great. Still plenty of time in this game to try and close that net worth gap, but against the Medusa, it's kind of hard to get that done. As Natsumi will just be able to escalate and farm now. So Gabby is right behind him, just on his tail. And Talon, they've been unable to really create the space we've been looking for so far. And I suppose it is quite hard into the draft that Polaris do have. And speaking of the Devils, they do smoke up again as too. Polaris run into Fly here on this Ogre, but it's not quite the target you'd want to go on. You'd much rather find someone a bit more valuable, and they are going to run into KP. But now you have an issue of whether you can actually kill him off. Instead, or they might have to settle for Fly, but they'll just leave him be. The Ogre's not that much better of a target. So just let this one go. Fly, though, he's got a courier on the way, but that'll be sniped up in force. And they'll be out of it.
Just an in and out. Maybe not the most impactful smoke, but they're still forcing defensive movements out from Talon, so they know Talon's staying grouped up in the triangle. They're not working the side lanes, they're not working the bot jungle. They're not getting as much farm as they'd want to. And that does keep Talon a pretty good check here, as Polaris are still free to roam around the top jungle, it's still free to invade. They've got the grip ready to go on Mavis. You can look to maybe catch someone out if they wanted to. Natsumi is showing top, and they're about ready to collapse here if they want to.
They're going after Roshan, though. They forget the top lane. They want that Roshan straight off the bat. Every Roshan today has just gone so darn fast. And, well, here we go again, 15 minutes in. Polaris, they'll just happily take it away from Talon if they don't want to try and defend or fight this. And for now, it seems like Talon may not be aware that it's happening. And by this point, it's just too late. It's gone.
Yeah. So now I have to deal with 2 lives on the Medusa. It looks like they were lacking damage for even just 1 life. 2 lives is going to be a bit out of the question unless Gabby joins in and tries to use his multi-shot and his right-click damage, which is very risky. Our Drow is just not very well protected right now. There is a bit of a spike here for Talon. They've got the blink up in KP, so they can play with a blink Ravage Kisses. They just need to find an angle to kind of get their teamfight combination going.
Talon, though, at least get on that tier 1 mid tower. Get started with Gabby. He's in the front line, so you've got to be very careful about that. It's the last target you want to lose right now. There's Polaris. They no rotate, and that's about all it takes to force back the side of Talon. Seems as though that's all they wanted. But it's going to be a big smoke up now. Just as 4. Natsumi, he might join considering he does have the Aegis up and is still pretty darn farmed up. As they move in onto Makoto, Rolling Thunder is going to be there, and they even have the Yule Scepter out from their Lucian. The timing's just on target. Just on point. Makoto, he's having a very rough game, John. Just doesn't even have the Orchid up yet.
Yeah, it's such slow timings coming out for Talon, and the network lead isn't too massive here from Polaris, but the aggression really is lining up. That's time where they're not farming, although it looks like Talon is trying to use this time to push in mid. The TPs are coming in, though, for the defense.
KP's been spotted. Xavier's thinking about dropping the Tombstone, but won't really bother in the end. Just leaves him be. As long as they hold the tier 1, they are happy. Natsumi slowly just chipping away at that top tier 2 tower. And once again, Talon just unwilling to respond to this. The tier 2 does go down. That'll mean the outpost does get taken. So even more being taken away from Talon now, as they will not have that extra XP, but they'll go into the mid lane and try to make the jump in onto Xavius, but they just can't kill him in time. The Undying's proving to be too tanky, so they'll start the fight now. Polaris, they'd love to try and fight Talon on these terms. As KP, he does have the Ravage. He'll pop it immediately onto 5 heroes, but where's your follow-up? It's just to try and retreat. And in the end, they will still lose 1, and more than likely a second, as KP does go down. In fact, make it a 3rd. They found Fly. They'll commit the Rolling Thunder to make sure he cannot TP away. In fact, do we have a 4th? Looks like Makoto, he'll be okay to blink. But Talon, they are getting nothing out of this game 3.
I don't understand Talon's movements. Like, they force the kisses onto the Undying while they have Ravage and they have bigger targets to go for. Maybe not showing in the map, but it's showing that Talon feels some pressure. They feel pressure to make plays. They're not finding targets and they're being punished. Mavis? Yeah, just a Shadow Amulet out. TP's out. No cancellation from Kato. Polaris just managed to get control. They take the mid tier 2. The map's going increasingly naked for the side of Talon, and it's limiting the movements, limiting the spots they can farm up in. In fact, Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby's been caught out, and that's the big target. You're seeing the desperation now from Talon. I mean, that's an obvious position not to farm in for Gabby. The problem is he doesn't have anywhere else to go. That's literally the only place he could have hit creeps.
Yeah, it's just so constricted where Talon can go out. Like, it's down to the lack of map control, down to the lack of towers that they've taken. The bot jungle might be a good spot. There's not much vision here from Polaris, so he could look to swing around there instead. And they still have that bot tier 1, so there's at least a bit of an access point for Talon to play with. But the gap for Polaris grows wider and wider. 6k up now for Polaris, 13-4. We still haven't seen any sort of move out to deny off Natsumi, to slow him down. Ardusa is inching closer and closer towards that Scotty. And once that's up, I mean, you're looking at a very scary Medusa, although KP play tag.
He's not that tanky on this tide. I mean, you kind of imagine he's able to frontline, and he does for now, but it's only Natsumi that's gone on him. But we've seen KP in these previous engagements. He does milk quite fast.
He's kind of under-farmed as a tide as well. Polaris knows this. They just keep running into the triangle. There is some vision here from Talon. They can kind of back off and maybe bait in. Mikado's going to have to watch himself, though. The swing around does lead a lot of heroes down. Does manage to blink TP out, so just dodging out, stalling out as best as they can on Talon. But, man, they're all stuck here in the triangle.
Well, they at least found Xavius here. He'll drop the Tombstone, but it's already too late. He's gone. Rolling Thunder, it's not going to come out. Force. They don't want to force a fight 4v5. So they'll accept the fact that Xavius is a pretty big part of their team fight. They'll just leave it be. As the Aegis also expires at the perfect time here, so Talon, they're trying to rush with a big smoke out. Oh, Natsumi, this could be a perfect target if they could get it. Keep in mind, he does still have Stone Gaze up. And it seems like they are kind of struggling to find a way to break the gap here against the Medusa. Ravage is there with the blink up on KP, but they have not made the jump in yet. Now KP, that's a bit of an awkward jump. He goes in now. Stone Gaze has been popped though, and he's petrified immediately as Natsumi just turns. Oh, just way off the mark there as Hyde now has also been caught out. Gabby will just need to run as Makoto tries to protect him on the Queen of Pain, but Makoto needs his own way out. He'll blink out though and should be fine. Can't say the same for Fly, however. The Ogre will slowly be chased down and does end up dropping. Yeah, I'm not sure what that blink was about, John. Just maybe a bit of miscommunication.
Yeah, jump in. Their smoke broke under a ward, Mike. So They knew the tide was there. They backed off in time. They were set up. Again, the Ravage Kisses combination's not coming true. Hyde tries to preempt the Ravage to get max value from the Kisses. It doesn't pan out. Now they're down to Snapfire Kisses, so they're depending so much on Mikado to find the angle with a Sonic Wave. And Polaris, I'm sure they commit out the Stone Gaze. It's not the longest cooldown, actually. 90 seconds in comparison to Ravage and Kisses. Not too bad. So you can actually be a bit more active on your Dusa early on. And that's what Polaris is doing. They're leveraging it well. 7k lead up Talon. Just, I don't know. The execution's falling a bit flat. Again, I think we've talked about this multiple times. When you do go for the Wombo combo drafts and you don't manage to execute, then your draft just feels really weak because you drafted for a specific playstyle that you need to get onto every time you have those spells up. They have to find these kills.
Oh, they've got Xavius here on the Undying. It's not quite the best target to go after, but they'll have to accept him. In fact, it's not even free. Xavius, he drops the Tombstone in time, and Lelouch, he wants to keep this fight going. Buyback is there. Xavius will rejoin. KB, he's still got the Ravage, but he'll wait out the BKBs first. He needs to throw it out soon, though. Eventually does, but it's only on one target. And in the meantime, Gabby's been caught out. They have got the drown. Natsumi, he just continues to tip Gabby as they will continue to chase him down. And they are really cleaning up now, Polaris. They'll go for more force. He won't dive too deep. Natsumi might, however, as he does find a triple kill on the Medusa. You're so reliant on hitting a nice Ravage this game to at least give yourself a chance, but it's just not happening.
Yeah, it's just not lining up. They're managing to control the tide really well. KP is really just not that tanky, and they get to start in the high ground. They don't have the EXO running anymore, but Natsumi's more than enough to just frontline, get the push in. Without the Ravage, like the team fight defense for the high ground for Talon is just not that strong. They do have the Kisses to maybe zone out. Looks like Polaris will respect that the forced fire was forced out. They don't have to rush this. Like, they've got Dusa scaling into the late game. They're not under pressure to actually end this game fast. They can take it as slow as they want. There's even a second Roshan up and running if they want to go for it. I think the Ag Shard is there, the Aegis is there. And again, without Ravage for Talon, it's not a spot they can really contest if Polaris does make that move into Roche.
Natsumi just again in that dire jungle. No fear in the world here for this Medusa. They're going to try and move up. Mortimer's Kisses are out again, but where's your follow-up? It feels like, again, just miscommunication here as they jump in. Lelouch, he's there on the fly. They've got the Yoga down pretty much guaranteed. In fact, never mind him, they'll go after Gabby instead. The Hurricane Pike is there to save, but the chase does continue as they really want that drow, and they will commit everything to make sure that Gabby does end up going down, and they'll get him. Like, Mortimer's Kisses start, but they're nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's like they've got the combination. Maybe they just need to wait for Ravage to be off cooldown. I feel like this is not the moment for Talon to fight. They're forcing engagement anyway. They lose Gabby again. The lead goes to 12k for Polaris as they just keep controlling the top jungle. They keep the lane shoved in. Talon, at the least they'll have Ravage up, and again, there's still the Sonic Wave to tie into that, but without the Kisses, it just doesn't feel like enough damage, and we'll just get started on Roche. I mean, Xavius is in. He drops the Flesh Golem to get some damage amp on, and again, Ravage is up, but KP needs to move fast if he wants to fight, and again, without Kisses, like, what are you gonna do? Where's the follow-up?
It's probably not there, John. I dare say. I mean, that seems to be most of your damage right now. I mean, you know Gabby cannot just sit there and just hit people this game at all, as Polaris, every time they see the ground, they just charge. Shard's now up on the DP to boot. Game just becomes harder and harder as time goes on, at least for Talon. It's KP.
Have to do better than that.
Be far forward in the Radiant jungle, but he might be spotted here by Mavis. The Shadow Amulet just trying to sneak up on the Tidehunter. Will eventually find him. Gets a Nightmare off, and well, there is help incoming. I think KP, he might just be dead here. So of course he won't bother trying to throw out the Ravage to survive this, I'm sure. Will just slowly be chipped away here by Natsumi. A sort of 4-star play up the high ground, but the Nightmare again is going to come in. Just lock him down long enough to ensure they secure the kill. Just massive desperation from Talon to just try and get some net worth on their side of things.
Yeah, they're having to take these risky farm spots, risky areas to build up. They're still lagging severely behind, and Lelouch is still keeping track of Gabby here.
You gotta love how split up Polaris are, but they're always on a mission, these boys. Everyone's got a plan to find somebody. Lelouch, he doesn't quite make the jump in onto Gabby, but does get a bit of information over to his team. It's Hyde. I mean, bot lane, he's just trying to keep that lane pushed out. In the meantime, though, a big smoke up as Polaris. They know they're in the triangle right now. Just charge forward. I believe they may have smoked under vision, though. Kodo. Just seems like he's trying to bait for the team.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
He does end up spotting out Xavius, but the Rolling Thunder's going to be there to set up. Only one stun, however. Forstaff will save Makoto. Instead, they're gone to KP, who tries to TP out. He may not make it, though, and he won't. The fear was there from our DP, as now Xavius goes in onto Hyde. They've got the Snapfire caught out. And eventually, they will be able to secure the kill. And Polaris, with the Aegis up, they might just try high ground.
They've got Exo running for a bit longer here on Lelouch. They can just go for that steady push. There's no creep cuts coming in from Talon, so they'll go for it. You need to buy back if you want the Kisses Ravage combination here. Respawns are short. Looks like they will just surrender at least one set of racks, but Polaris can easily go for 2, maybe even start chipping a tier 4 if they feel confident.
I mean, they've just done a fantastic job thus far here, Polaris' Talon. Gonna have to watch as that mid-rax does slowly just go down here to Natsumi. At the very least, Gabby, he gets a deny off. You know, you've got to get every win you can get.
Yeah, they deny it off. I love that it's still bug that you can get gold according to the notification for killing off your own racks. So
Beta game,
they stall out. Yeah, beta game. At the least now, Tide is back up. KP is there. Hyde's there. Ravage Kiss is still ready to go. When will we see the combination, Mike? Because I don't think we've seen it at all. We've seen Kisses, we've seen Ravage, but not together in a big way. It needs to happen. It just needs to happen.
I'd agree with you, John. I don't disagree with that point. I mean, they've got all the tools available. Like, you've got the blink up, you've had it for ages, but they're just unable to find the opening they're looking for. I mean, hell, even with that combo, it just feels like it might be too late. Natsumi, he's just going to walk high ground. I mean, there's just no fear from this Medusa. He has not died once this game. Everyone just trying to scare Natsumi off, make him react, but he is not flinching.
Yeah. I mean, just play it calm and collected on Polaris. Back to farming, back to building up. They know they have this massive advantage. They don't have too much to worry about. The item spikes for Talon are still a ways off. Gabby still saving up for a BKB. Still lacking about 2,000 gold. And he's not going to have buyback if he does commit for it. So, you don't have many tools left for Talon. And Polaris, they will smoke up. Maybe look for a bit of a swing play on that bot set of towers and racks. And Natsumi just takes point. Age is still up for 40 seconds. Not much time left. But even then, like, I don't know if they can even kill off Natsumi with 1 life.
I highly doubt it. Get to work. Hyde trying to chip away at the tombstone, but they can't even find that as the Rolling Thunder has begun. And again, you see they want KP so darn bad. They want to make sure that Ravage is not going to be in this team fight. They've got him already, but he'll buy back. They need that big ulti here from KP, but again, they just haven't got the angle. As Force just TPs out, mid-Rolling Thunder, and everyone else just walks out of it. The chase is still on, but can they find a target? They'll try to Natsumi, but he'll turn around now. KP, he does not want to tie back like this. He'll pop the Ravage before it does happen, but it's for nothing. There is absolutely zero follow-up here for Talon. As KP's gone, they'll try to Lelouch instead. He'll heal up, but maybe they at least find 1 kill. They will get the DP. They split up the team fight. They make it happen. They find anything else though. Force is in. Fly's gone. He does have buyback. Gabby. He gets started on Natsumi, but doesn't really have the damage output right now. In fact, Beantrip is going to catch up Makoto, and that'll be the Quap gone. Again, buyback is available this time for Makoto. It's a very depressing game for Talon, though. You might kind of feel like buyback or not, you can't really defend this.
Dire's middle
Yeah, I don't think they can. Without Ravage Kiss's combination, it's a bit shaky, and I think Polaris realized that. They keep the push going even without the Aegis. They don't really need it. Natsumi's looking for the mega creeps coming through. I mean, Gabby's still trying to fight, but this is a dangerous spot for him. He does have the Hurricane Pike up to try and retreat. He's not doing enough damage to even put a dent in Natsumi right now.
Certainly not. Gabby, he'll get to work, getting through some of the mana, but the stun is there from the Rolling Thunder Force. He's setting up perfectly. Gabby is somehow still alive, cooking forward. They'll get him out surely. Swashbuckle's not enough. He'll turn now. Gabby has somehow made it out of this alive. Just barely. As now they try to go after Force, but the Sonic Wave is completely juked out by the Pango. KB though, he'll jump back in on the Tide, but he's going right back to the graveyard. Just has nothing to throw out. Tidal drops to boot. Gabby again getting back to work onto Lelouch. Force jumping forward, trying to save his DP, and does do so. Natsumi even, he'll pop the Stone Gaze, trying to chase down Fly and get this Ogre gone, and he does, but the buyback is there. Onto Gabby they go. The Drow has nowhere to run. He just has to try and man fight this, but there is no fighting. The Force staff off the mark to boot. It's GG. Polaris Esports, they've managed to get the 2-0, or rather 2-1 victory here against Talon Esports. And for Talon, not off to the greatest start in their first series in the Division 2 of the SCA DPC.
And we talked about it at the start of this game, Mike. We talked about the fact that, Polaris, people were expecting them to play in open qualifiers. If that happened, maybe Talon wouldn't even be up here. And I think we saw this situation with Talon in open qualifiers 1, where they kind of ride through the open qualifiers, mainly relying on individual skill, it almost feels like. But then they go up against established teams like Ragdoll. VT Faded has had that stack for at least 3-4 months now. They've played in multiple tournaments we've casted, and we've seen them perform month and month, grow up as a team. And Talon, as a fresh stack, it just feels like that coordination isn't there. And you look at Polaris, a team that's played together on and off for the past 4 years as well. They come in, they deliver the performance, they know how to execute, they know each other's limits. Whereas for Talon, they go into this Wombo combo draft, they go into a draft that requires precise coordination to get the Ravage, to get the kisses off, to get the Sonic Wave coming in, to get the perfect movement across the map, to buy your Drow Ranger space. Didn't quite come out from Talon, and I think Talon are still in that phase where, again, in open qualifiers, they only played like one scrim before open qualifiers 2. They need a lot more time. We're seeing the big difference between established teams with really good comps and really good coordination up against an all-star team that needs time to gel, Mike. Talent, maybe a bit underperforming. They did manage to take a game off Polaris, but Polaris certainly showing us why they reached those grand finals in BTS Pro Series 9.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to give credit to them. They've done a great job. Obviously, Game 1 looked very rough against Talon, but Game 2, they went back to the Mag PA, comfort pick, swing the momentum back your way, and long behold, Game 3, I can't even say it was close, Sean. I mean, 31-9, 32 minutes in, just a very dominant victory. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and johnxfire, we do not have an interview, unfortunately, from Polaris. It looks like they're too busy celebrating their victory against Talon. So with that, I believe we are going to have to head off for the night, at least for you and I. But Upper Division is upon us, Jonathan, or rather Division 1, as they like to call it this year. What's the matchup today, John? I haven't actually checked it out.
Neon versus Boom, baby.
Uh-oh. Well, it's a pretty hype matchup between those two, of course.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we talked about the roster changes between the two teams, and, well, they've been memeing a little bit against each other on Twitter. They've been having a bit of fun. It's very, very good to see. We'll see how they do pan out. I mean, I know you and I, talking about OB Neon, we kind of doubted their new roster quite a lot. But I got to say, they look pretty clean. So I think they might actually give Boom a run for their money in this series.
Yeah, I think, again, there's a historic back and forth. And Ryu Roy, he knows what Scam and Yopaj are like, Mr. CEO, the new CEO, although they've been passing blame, Mike. I think when I was talking to Abeng, he did say that Palos is actually the CEO, so we'll see if that affects them, but should be a good matchup, and that's not going to take too long to get live here.
All right, well, absolutely. We are going to head off to a short break, of course, ladies and gentlemen. And right after that break, we'll be back with the live show for Division 1 to see who wins between OB Neon and, of course, Boom Esports. We'll see you then.